Fauci says domestic travel vax rule should be considered. Considered. Not very dictatorial to say, I don't know, maybe consider something. Seems quite measured, in fact. President Joe Biden's medical advisor said a domestic travel vaccination rule should be considered as the Omicron variant fuels record caseloads in some states. We have the video. Let's take a look at what he had to say.
Will you recommend to President Biden there should be a requirement for vaccination for domestic travel?
You know, I'm not going to tell you that for the simple reason is that I don't want to be publicly telling what I'm recommending to the president, because if then the president doesn't do it, I don't want to make it look he's going against it. The president
eminently reasonable
takes all recommendations, all discussions,
all of it.
And as a group, we make a decision about what's best to do. There are pros and cons to that. I mean, you've got to ask yourself why it is you're making that requirement. If you're making a requirement for vaccination for people to get on planes who are coming into the country, that's understandable. You don't want to bring more cases into the country. But if you're talking about requiring vaccination to get on a plane domestically, that is just another one of the requirements that I think is reasonable to consider. And I think that's what you're talking about when you heard me make a comment. You know, there's requirements that you might want to get if you want to get into college, or you want to go to a university, or you want to work in certain places. When you make vaccination a requirement, that's another incentive to get more people vaccinated. If you want to do that with domestic flights, I think that's something that seriously should be considered.
Yeah. So, you know, eminently reasonable. I am. So now I hope everybody's relaxed for what I'm about to say, because I want you to listen to what I'm saying, not to what you think I'm saying. I would be in favor of this completely, and I've said it for a long time. And with Omicron, or the Omicron, as Joe Biden says, I do not believe we are going to vaccinate our way out of Omicron. Because it is so contagious, it is at the point where we are being told as contagious as the cold, as a cold. And so what the vaccines will do is reduce hospitalization and death, and hopefully to some degree transmission. 2 doses, apparently 30% effective at preventing symptomatic infection. 3 doses, 70%. But this thing is spreading like wildfire. Look at some of these data, or data, as some might say. This is in the United States. Look at that, 268,000 cases that we knew about on December 23rd. Probably just as many people are not getting tested who have it, because for so many people, this new variant is so mild. Probably 500,000 cases on December 23rd at minimum. Globally, we are seeing about 1 million a day. As you can see here, we had these very big numbers here, 989,000. And again, there's so many areas where testing is not capturing anywhere near all the cases. So the reason we need the vaccines is because they are extremely effective at keeping people out of the hospital and preventing people from dying. You know who recognized this the other day? Donald Trump, who told Candace Blowens, these vaccines are making it so that if you get it, you don't die. And he was completely correct about that. Completely correct. And here is an emergency room physician talking a little bit about this.
Back in folks that are vaccinated and unvaccinated, what's the kind of breakdown from your estimation of what you've been seeing?
I would say the vast majority of people coming into the ICU are those that are unvaccinated. There are a very few percent of people that are being admitted to the ICU that have been fully vaccinated, but usually those people are high-risk people that have critical illness anyways, and not healthy people that are fully vaccinated.
Yeah.
For folks that are unvaccinated, are they expressing any regret in not getting vaccinated before getting sick?
There has been some regrets. Some people stick to their beliefs about not getting vaccinated, but there I have been expressed by patients that they did wish they would have gotten vaccinated when they become severely ill.
Okay. And then we have a very interesting thread here from Dr. Craig Spencer, not only MD, but also MPH. I think it's important to mention Dr. Craig Spencer, a medical doctor, right? Dr. Jordan B. Peterson, not a medical doctor, still called doctor by many people, not a medical doctor. Okay. This is a very instructive thread. I've seen a lot of COVID in the ER recently. With so many people getting infected recently, some folks may wonder, what's the point of getting vaccinated at all? And is there really any value to a booster dose if I've had 2 Pfizer, Moderna, or a shot of J&J? My observations. Every patient I've seen with COVID that's had a 3rd booster dose has had mild symptoms. By mild, I mean mostly sore throat, lots of sore throat, fatigue, muscle pain, no difficulty breathing, no shortness of breath, all a little uncomfortable, but fine. Most patients I've seen that had 2 doses still had mild symptoms, but more than those who received a 3rd. More fatigue, more fever, more coughing, a little more miserable overall, but no shortness of breath or difficulty breathing, mostly fine. Most patients I've seen that had 1 J&J and had COVID were worse, felt horrible, fever for a few days or more, weak, tired, shortness of breath and cough, but no one needing hospitalization, not one needing oxygen. Not great, but not life-threatening. And almost every single patient I've taken care of that needed to be admitted has been unvaccinated. Everyone with profound shortness of breath, everyone whose oxygen dropped when they walked, everyone needing oxygen to breathe regularly. The point is, you're going to hear about a lot of people getting COVID in the coming days and weeks. Those that have been vaccinated and got a booster will mostly fare well with minimal symptoms. Those getting 2 doses might have a few more symptoms, but should still do well. Those who got a single J&J may have more, but have more protection than unvaccinated. But the burden falls on the unvaccinated, those who haven't gotten a single dose. They're the most likely to need oxygen. They're the most likely to have complications. They're the most likely to get admitted and the most likely to stay in the hospital for days or longer with severe COVID. Just observations from my recent shifts in the ER. No matter your political affiliation or thoughts on masks or where you live. As an ER doctor you'd trust with your life, if you rolled into my emergency room at 3 a.m., I promise you'd rather face the oncoming Omicron wave vaccinated. Please be safe. Clip it, please, folks. Clip it. Exactly. So I faced off against Omicron last week. And I'm going to tell you the story in a few days. I want the book to be written in full before I publish it. Okay? I faced off with the Omicron in the last week, and I'm going to tell everybody about it. Now, faced off, I'm using that language for a very specific reason. Okay? So everybody calm down. Everybody relax. We're going to be looking at all of it very, very strongly. So that's the Fauci stuff. We took care of that.